So we've heard this story all our lives. I'm very intrigued by this next story. We've heard the idea, you know what? You need to get 8 hours of sleep. It has been drilled into our heads, I think, since we were kids. But there is now a new study, which, if you'll pardon the pun, drills down a little deeper to actually qualify and quantify a bit of a more refined suggestion. So we thought we'd take a look at this. Marie-Pierre St-Onge is a professor of nutritional medicine at Columbia University and an expert in the field of sleep health. And she is on the line. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being here this afternoon. And let me begin when I say, we're going to kind of quantify this. It's not a big change, but it is interesting. So this new study, and it's pretty massive from what I understand, 500,000 people here, suggests what now is what's being described as the sleep sweet spot.
Yes. So basically they found that in various organs, getting 6.5 to about a little under 7 was that sweet spot of optimal health for that organ. And once you got below 6.5 and above 8, you start to see accelerated aging, deterioration of health with these types of shorter sleep and longer sleep.
Yeah, which is interesting. We would have got the part about shorter sleep. Is it interesting to note that even longer sleep actually works against your health?
Yes, we actually have some data from population-based studies that show that individuals who have longer sleep also have higher risk of cardiovascular disease, mortality. Longer sleep is often associated with inherent sickness, so sickness promotes sleep. So there's something there as well. So maybe underlying disorders that prompt individual to need more sleep, that may be what's explaining the effect of or that relation with long sleep and poor health.
So so you've been studying this, you've been conducting research for years, and I know you focus a lot on women's issues. Are the numbers different for women specifically?
Slightly. So for women, they tend to be on the upper range of that 6.5 to 7.8 hours of sleep. So women tend to need a little more sleep than men. And we do see that in general population where women typically report sleeping 20 minutes on average longer than men.
And is that physiological? What's the rationale or the reasoning for that? Do we know?
Well, women differ from men in multiple aspects, both physiological, hormonal differences, but also other social factors that come into play when you're talking about sleep duration, sleep quality, in terms of roles in the household and outside of the house. So I think that could be where also women need just more time to recuperate.
Yeah. I will mention the one other thing we said off the top, the sweet spot, as you said, 6.4 to 7.8 hours a night. When you talked about, better overall health, when I saw the note here, when we talk about better overall health, it's everything, right? It's brain, heart, lungs, your immune system. This is pretty sweeping.
Yes, it's pretty much every organ system of the body that's impacted by sleep. So I think, aiming to get good sleep, that includes good sleep duration, but also good sleeping patterns and good quality sleep, continuous sleep, so not very fragmented sleep. It should be on one of the priorities for better health.
Yeah. Do the same rules apply? This idea of, you have to get ready to go to sleep, turn off the phone, turn off the blue light, et cetera. That's still the case? That's still helpful?
Yes, I think so. I think it's helpful to have a ramping down routine.
And what about for people who hear this and say, well, you know what, I can function on much less sleep, and I don't need 6.5 hours, and I'm perfectly fine. I mean, this can't apply necessarily to everybody.
So, there's flexibility in terms of individual differences. When we're talking about population-based studies, it's always averages. There's always a normal curve where some people lie on the, longer side of sleep need and others lie on the shorter side of sleep need. But I also like to tell people that those are things that you don't feel sometimes. So you may think that everything's happening and everything's perfectly fine for getting by on 5 hours of sleep or 5.5, 6. But you're not necessarily feeling that your blood pressure is creeping up, that your ability to handle glucose loads is impaired or getting more impaired, right? So some things you don't necessarily feel on a day-to-day basis that may be impacted by not getting enough sleep. So, if you're able to give yourself more time in bed and sleep more, then that means that you probably should be getting more sleep.
Interesting. And I guess, if you don't notice these things as you described, if you don't notice them from day to day, they're cumulative at one point where you kind of get this wake-up call about, hey, you're not getting enough sleep?
Well, yeah, over time, you get aggravation, right, of your beta cells that lead to, increased risk of type 2 diabetes if you keep stressing your system like that.
And what about with respect to, and again, I want to point out the part about this that really surprised me, this idea that if, you get longer sleep over that 8-hour limit, that's actually very detrimental to you, again, in the same way as not getting enough over the course of time.
Yes, that's also detrimental. But, one thing about the longer sleep, there's, oftentimes fewer people who do sleep long. If you require a lot of sleep, maybe, you should get a checkup and see if there's anything, or, maybe that's just what's normal for you.
Okay. But it is something worth looking into if this is something regular for you. If you're getting 9.5, I know people who do this who say, oh my God, I go to bed every night at 9. I'm not up till, 7 the next day, or getting 9, 10 hours of sleep a day. They seem to be, doing okay. But again, this is something you think is abnormal?
Not necessarily. So I think, they could check with their doctors, see if they, have good labs when they do their preventive care. Then I don't think there's anything to worry about.
Okay. So this idea of a sweet spot, 6.4 to 7.8, if you can make that work, that seems to be sort of the median. That's a great place to be.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Doctor, I want to thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all. Bryan Adams Radio. I'm coming back to you. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.